the team MVP that you brought up earlier in Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then Kenny Pickett won Rookie of the Year. I agree with you. I don't think there's any question Minkah is the team MVP. There's no, like most years, you kind of felt like, oh, it's TJ Watt, zero questions asked. That guy is just so dominant. I feel like with Minkah, the defense has been so rocky all season that you kind of forget at times that this dude is putting up ridiculous numbers. I mean, he's got a career high 6 interceptions. Last year, we were talking about, it wasn't us. We were not talking about it, but a lot of people were talking about, has Minkah lost his spark? You know, he's not doing what he used to do. Is he trying to do
so
too
stupid.
much? It was so stupid because he came back this year. He's got 6 interceptions and a touchdown. And the dude is by far the best player on the Steelers defense, I guess, outside of TJ Watt, who hasn't played most of the season. Easy question. Kenny Pickett went in Rookie of the Year. That's by the Pro Football Writers of America. I got to vote in that. I did vote for Kenny. I will be very open about that. There was some argument or some backlash that it should have been George Pickens. Do you agree with that, or do you think Kenny was the right move?
I probably would have went with George just because the full body of work, but I don't necessarily have a problem with them giving it to Pickett either. Especially with what Pickett's done the last 2 weeks, leading game winning drives late in the game. So I don't have a problem with the voting process of that. I probably would have went with George because I feel like the level of play has been a lot more consistent over the course of the season. But again, I don't have an issue with it. I think it's awesome. You know, we talked at length on the draft pod earlier this week about, you know, his development and some of the things that he was able to do against Baltimore that I thought were really, really important, crucial to the outcome of the game. So yeah, I mean, it's good for him. I'm happy for him. It's good.
I agree. My thought was, so I was told by, you know, the president of the PFWA, wait until after the Baltimore game to cast your vote. And in his words, it was like, just in case George Pickens has 3 touchdowns. And I was like, okay, so apparently people think that George Pickens is going to be the guy. And then Kenny goes out and does what
game of the season.
Yeah, and I was just like, well, I can't vote for Kenny Pickett. Like, there's people, I'm out here trying to come up with t-shirt ideas because I think that the dude, you know, is the face of Pittsburgh for the next 10 years. I can't be like, oh, it was George Pickens. It was probably George Pickens. But I will say this. I do think that next year, if we had next year's team in Pittsburgh right now, where it was a year of Kenny Pickett developed, a year of this offense flowing together, George Pickens is probably like a 1,500-yard receiver, 10 touchdowns, ridiculous year. And I would say it's easily George Pickens, because that's half the battle. Half the battle this season was the fact that he did everything he did. And then there were those games where there was 0 catches or 1 catch for 2 yards or whatever, because the quarterback play was just so and the offensive coordinator play was just god awful.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. I would think that if you want an optimist take, and I'm very much a realist, some people can confuse that with negativity.
You're skeptical, bro.
Yeah, I'm a realist about the whole thing. But if you want an optimist take, and this is really something that I kind of believe in, honestly, if you watch the tape, the Steelers' weapons are good. And there are a lot of opportunities in the pass game that still aren't being converted. And if you're a believer that what we saw against Baltimore with Pickett out of structure, if he can do that consistently moving forward, and he kind of regains that confidence and that effectiveness that we saw at Pitt, when you combine that, the offensive line who's been better than expected, the run game that's been really good over the second half of the season, you start getting some more consistent quarterback play in the pocket, and then you get a better offensive coordinator. This is going to end up being, I think, a pretty solid offense. I think if that's what you want for an optimistic take. Now, that's obviously, that's assuming that you get an upgraded OC.
Yeah, it's like assuming some good things have to happen.
Yeah, that's assuming that the quarterback development continues on the right track. And, we talk all the time about quarterback, development's it's not linear. It's not guaranteed. It's not always going to be, week to week like it has been recently. But I do think, there's reason for optimism moving forward for next year, regardless of what happens. Regardless of what happens this week, I think that you got to feel a lot better about the Steelers this version of the Steelers heading into 2023 after the past month. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think the Steelers look good right now. Like it's like, and they don't look good. That's the craziest part. The Steelers do not look very good, but they look much better than they have looked. They look like a team. I think that's the biggest part is they look like a team. Like the offensive line looks good. They look like a unit, even if there are mistakes. The running game looks very good. The depth looks very good. The quarterback looks very good. The play calling is still very iffy, but at times it looks good. The defense looks good. It's just like pieces that you've wanted to see all season that you're just seeing now.
they have an identity on offense.
Yes,
Like
for the first time in
yeah,
2 years.
for the first time in forever, it seems like they're able to run the ball, and like I can't really express how important that has been to their turnaround on offense.
Yes.
They have been able to they've been so much better on first and second down, getting themselves into manageable third downs. A lot of, the biggest number probably increase over the first half of the season to the second half has been their effectiveness on third downs, which has allowed them to sustain drives. But that really has been a benefactor of being better on first and second down, like we always talk about. And that's because they're running the ball better. They're getting those like 4 or 5 yard runs consistently, and it's been very beneficial to them getting into better situations on third down.
Yeah, 100%. And you can only expect that to get better. Possibly, like you said, if you get a better offensive coordinator, if things click. I think at this point, though, a couple questions have been answered because of this, and that is, I have a hard time, and you guys talked about it in the draft pod 2 weeks ago, I think. I have a hard time believing that the Steelers changed much on their offensive line because of how much that has clicked in recent weeks. I have a hard time believing that they're going to go get a big splash wide receiver because I think that they like guys like Steven Sims and Gunnar Olszewski and Miles Boykin. And
they need two. There needs to be two things bare minimum, and we could talk about other upgrades that they could potentially get, like minor pieces.
Yeah.
What I would really like to see them do as we sit here today, I'd like to see them upgrade either left guard or left tackle.
Yes, which will be left guard.
However you want to do it. Upgrade one of those spots with a premium draft pick, meaning like first, second round.
Yep.
And then they need to get a slot receiver. I'm not
See,
discounting.
I don't think they do it.
See, I think they do. I think they do.
I think right now,
no discount on Steven Sims and that play that he made. But
I think that they have too much faith in the group as a whole, and then the expectations for Calvin Austin. I think they're going to look, and Calvin Austin's not a true slot guy, but they're going to try to make him one.
That's why I'm a little up and down about that, because I don't really know how the projection for Austin's going to go. But I also
think there should be one right now. I think that you have no idea what Liz Frank's going to do to a dude who runs a 4.2.
And I think that that's going to depend on who the offensive coordinator is. It doesn't because the slot receiver position, it really doesn't matter a ton in this offense right now because of what Canada's scheme asked that position to do. But having said that, I still think I would take bets on whatever anybody wants to put up that one of those 3 picks is going to be a receiver. And I don't want that to be the case. I just want to make that known.
One of those first 3. I always forget that they have 2 second rounds.
I 100%.
Maybe. I could say maybe.
That. I'm not saying it's going to be like Jordan Addison, nor should it be, in my opinion. But I do think that one of those first 3 picks are going to be a receiver.
I think maybe.
And it's probably going to be somebody, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be somebody that is going to operate primarily out of the slot, because I think they like what they have on the outside. Like Deontay, they've moved him around a little bit more, but him as the X, George can be the Z, kind of field stretcher while he continues to refine the other route running aspects of his game. You get a true slot receiver. My preference is that they go out and get a slot receiver that can create some yards after the catch. That is what I think that they lack the most.
Yeah, agreed.
Someone that can work the middle of the field, but also create some yards after the catch. I have a couple names in mind, but I'm not going to drop them right now.
Yeah, I do want you to hold back on those, but I agree. I could see that. Now that you've mentioned the 2 in the second round, I could kind of see it. I'm not going to admit it yet, but I could kind of see it.